Hello, welcome back to another video tutorial here at GeekatPlay Studios. My name is Gary Miller. I had a request the other day on how to model a slate roof, and the person who requested that had given me these 4 images here that he had, I guess, Googled, and they are good reference images that gives me a good idea on what a slate roof looks like. And when you look at them, you see that there is a lot of irregularity to the shape of the edges, and that the edges are broken and fractured and splintered on the edges. And let me see, where's another one? The surface of them is rather rough as well. In this image, if you zoom in, you can really see the detail along the edges and along the surface. So this is what slate looks like. Well, if I were to model this, it would be very easy. They're just a bunch of squashed cubes that have been elongated and stacked up on one on top of the other, and then offset a set distance from one another, and that would be very, very easy to do. But it would not give a convincing look of what a slate roof looks like. It would look like a bunch of squashed cubes with whatever texture you put on them on your roof. But slate is, in my opinion, totally different, and I really wanted to capture the slate look of it because, well, that was what was requested. And so after playing around for several days, this is what I came up with, and it is, in my opinion and to my eye, very convincing slate roof look. This, by golly, is what a slate roof looks like and what a slate roof should look like. So the emphasis that I want to take in this tutorial is not on the modeling aspect of it, but rather on the texturing aspect of it, because that plays the most important role in convincing the eye that what you are looking at on top of a building is a slate roof. And this is what I came up with in Cinema 4D. Over in Photoshop, this is the texture that I had created. And when you zoom in, you can really see the details of this texture. Of course, you zoom in too close and it's going to get a little pixelated, but you got to ask yourself, how close is the roof of the building that you're going to create going to be to the camera when you render it? So even close up, it looks good. Medium and distance shots, it's going to look very good. But of course, if you get too close, well, then you're out of luck. So I think this tutorial will be extremely helpful in creating a slate roof look. In addition to that, all of the work that we're going to be doing here in Photoshop is all Photoshop work. We don't have to rely, for the most part, on other resources to create this texture. It's all filters and using the tools that Photoshop has. So let's get started very quickly. Coming over here in Hexagon, and I'm just going to create a quick cube, make a very crude roof. Let's elongate it, and I'm going to select faces, delete those, delete that, and this is my rooftop. Come over here to UV paint, enable split screen down here, and I'm going to apply a planar projection to that. I need to validate that. Let me select these. No, planar projection's not going to work. Got to apply a cubic projection to that. Validate that. And let me select all of my edges here. And let's bring this down so that my texture checker over here shows that it's actual checkerboard pattern. Okay, and let's zoom in, expand it a little bit. Okay, there is the UV map that we're going to create, that we're going to use for our roof. And all I have to do now is export this by clicking on this little camera right here and export it wherever you like. And we're going to bring it into Photoshop. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to make it 3000 at 300 dpi. And the reason why I'm going so large is I want to start off large. It will enable me to have lots of detail. We can shrink the size down. You can compress it afterwards to save on file size. But if you want to have the detail that's necessary to please the eye, you got to start off in with a large size image. So this is my UV map. I'm just going to drag it into my new document here, and I will merge it with the background. I'm going to create a new layer on top of that. Now I have my original PSD file that I created because I want to piece by piece duplicate it and use my original as a reference so that I can make my duplication as closely as possible. So on this new layer, I'm going to and my foreground and background colors set to their default. I'm just going to come up here, filter, render, and I'm going to hit my clouds filter. I'm going to come up here to filter, stylize, and emboss. Actually, let me cancel that. I want to zoom in here, and I got it at 36. Let me zoom in here to 36. This has to be set to screen. Now let me come in here to my emboss. Oops, I want to be on this layer. This gets set to screen. And use my emboss filter. I want to duplicate this texture here because I like how it turned out. And I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to run different clouds on this. And now come up here to my stylize and emboss. Let's bring my numbers up. There we are. And I think I'll go with these settings. Now, what angle you have plays a big part in its appearance, but whatever angle you choose, I would suggest that you choose a low angle. That way the highlights are hitting the top area of your bump and that shadows fall on the underneath or south side, because chances are in your render your light source will always be above your model. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's create a new layer above that. And this one gets set to hard light. Come up here to filter, render, clouds, and we're going to do different clouds again. Now the look I want in this is to keep hitting the different cloud filter, because I want to get an arrangement of my clouds so that kind of looks like that lightning look or a plasma look. So I got to hit it a couple times. by hitting Control F, and it will just reduplicate this filter. Now you're starting to see that I'm getting sort of this plasma, whatever, electricity look in here. Okay, I think I'll go with that, and that is set to hard light. So I'm going to come up here to filter, and I'm going to choose my filter gallery. Now if you're using a version of Photoshop that doesn't have filter gallery, that's not a big deal. You don't have to have that. I'm going to use my palette knife filter here, and for this image, at this resolution, at this image size, these are the settings I'm going to use. And I'm going to click OK. Your results will vary. I'm going to come up here to Filter, Stylize, and I'm going to use my Emboss Filter. Now this will give me that fractured, sedimentary look that is characteristic of slate. And I'm going to bring the height, play with maybe 1 or 2, bring the amount down, and that is starting to produce a very realistic look, like a sedimentary sandstone type of rock. Play with the angle here. And I think I will go with this. One of the things I'm going to want to do now is come up here to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to use my brightness control and bring my brightness down and play with the contrast a little bit. Now I'm going to hit Control L to bring up my levels. I want to darken this up a little bit more. I want to bring that whiteness down. That white area is a little bit too much. A little bit too much. And I'm just trying to eyeball it and make it the same as over here in terms of its brightness, and click OK. I think what I also want to do is on this first layer we created, I want to lower the brightness of that one as well a little bit and play with the contrast so that I can get a little bit more highlight in there. Maybe I'll hit Control L to bring up my levels and bring in some highlights here. There we are. That one's set to screen. This one is on hard light. And let's enable that. Okay, we are off to a good start. Now, there's no way I can duplicate this same look ever again because these effects so far are based on the cloud filter. And the cloud filter, in my opinion, it's like the snowflake. You'll never get the same results twice. You can try and try and try, and I've been trying for the last several days, several hours every day, trying to duplicate my original image, which I like very much, but I just have not been able to nail it 100%. So this is the best I can do, and I hope you arrive at better results at duplicating my work or creating something better than what I've done. Okay, so we've got the rock texture done. I'm going to come in here to Adobe Bridge. If you're using a version that doesn't have Bridge, no big deal. You don't have to have it. All I'm using it for is to find a texture that I already have. Now what I want to do is, like many of the textures I make, I like using metal textures because of the texture on them as well as the color. And for this project I want to find a metal picture, and I just want to use it for the color value that it contains. So I'm going to I like that. I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. Let me open up to a try window here, bring it right in there, close that out. Let me zoom out a little bit. Now you can still see the outline of the UV map. The only portion of this texture that will be displayed on the roof is the area within the confines of the UV map. So with this metal texture, I don't need to set it up at the top corner and stretch it to fill the entire size of this image. It only has to cover the area of the UV map that's going to be projected onto the three-dimensional object. So with this in place, I'm going to choose Overlay. Let me zoom out a little bit. We can close the original one. We are done with that. And it's looking pretty good, but we need another layer. We're going to start using several layers here and start building up the color in this, and start building up the effect of a stained mineral-like slate texture. And let me bring this one in also. I'm going to pause it right here and position it. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got everything in place. I'm going to stop this tutorial here and finish up with a second one because we've got a lot more work to do. So thanks for watching this video tutorial here at GeekatPlay Studios. My name is Gary Miller. Have a good day.